time to undo this April Fool's joke. And this is going to be a little more complicated because as we do this time, we need to do a troubleshoot. Because the fan, the Hampton Bay fan, has been kind of noisy. It's been making a lot of clicking sounds and other things I really can't tolerate. So we need to figure out why it's doing that. I think part of it is coming from the blades themselves, which is kind of weird. And I think part of it is coming from the medallion creaking on the ceiling or against the bracket or something. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. But it's not the box anymore because the box is perfectly secure. So it's got to be some other factor. So let's get this ridiculous thing off the ceiling. And which I happen to think this is the best April Fool's video I've ever done. But let's get this off the ceiling and let's take a look at the bracket and see if the bracket is in fact creaking or if it's exclusively the blades. I think it's both. Okay, so I've got this on the tripod because I need to work here, and it's easier for me to work if I don't have the camera on my person. Make sure that the angle is decent. It's not. All right, so let's see. Yep, that's part of the sound right there. Now, if the fan wasn't moving, shaking, wobbling, whatever, that sound wouldn't happen. But the thing is, this is a new in the box fan. It's never been mishandled, and it's still slightly out of whack. Most of the fans I'm going to put here are second-hand, so they've been mishandled at some point. The irons are going to be bent out of shape. It's going to wobble. It's going to have problems, and it's just going to be the way it is. So this setup here needs to be able to allow for some error in the fan's balance and not make that sound. So I think what we might have to do is put some washers in between the box and the medallion, because right now it's being pulled up to the ceiling a little bit too much, and I think that's where the sound is coming from. So let's see if we lower this down and take some of the tension off. Does it get better or worse? I can't really tell. I went out and I bought some lock washers and washers that we can put on the other side of these screws. And we're going to see if that kind of alleviates our problem here. I really hope that it does, because otherwise I'm not really sure what to do. I might have to cut this out a little bit and secure it to the ceiling independently. That's cool. We definitely cannot have it creaking the way that it has been. Actually, you know what also might work is if we just cut out where the screws are so it's not so tight, That might take some of the tension off as well. I think I'm going to start with that. Why do we need cars that are so loud? Yeah, see, this isn't really ideal to have it pulling on the screws like that anyways. So right there, that's where it likes to sit. So if I cut out just enough to get the screw through, it might become more content and stop creaking. What a mess this is. I can't believe that had to happen. But at least the problem is resolved. I get a 0 for this one. While I was taking a shortcut and didn't go get the right tool to cut it, it broke on the left side. Fortunately, the canopy on this fan is big enough to cover it, but it's not what it should be. Alright, let's see here. If we now... I put some washers on here as well. So, and with a lock washer and some space washers. So if we stick this on here, this thing in and of itself is not intrinsically creaky, so as long as the space is not, like, as long as it's not being forced up against something, I don't think so that this should creak. So we're going to put the medallion like this, and then put this like that. And so now the medallion is not going to be forced up against the ceiling. That might solve the problem. I think I used 5 washers over there. I'll grab the same, try to grab the same number of washers to put on the other side, and hopefully that will eliminate all the creaking. I think it will. And I kind of like the idea of having a lock washer there too. Hopefully you can see this with me in the way. Maybe over there. Maybe that's better. Okay, so same deal again, the lock washers and the spacing washers. Oh, the tricky part here is that the washers need to go above the bracket. And in fact, this method might solve the problem with those stupid medallions in the bedrooms that are difficult to install, because this would keep the bracket just a little bit below the ceiling to give some space to work with. It's like out here now. It's definitely better. See, that might be too little now. There's like a balance we gotta find. All right, that might be too many washers, I think. I'm going to take 3 off. So we'll just have 1 spacing washer, or 1 lock washer, and 2 spacing washers. And let's see where that brings us. I still hear a hair or something over here. It's definitely a lot better than it was though. I'm not really sure how much motion actually gets transferred into this part. I would think it's very little. But that is the sound that I hear. They need to put something like a piece of paper or something in between here just to keep the noise down. Because that's what it is. It's the edge of this up against the drywall. I think this might be okay. This is definitely a big improvement. All right, we'll try it out. I think it might be okay. If it's not, well, we'll give it a good effort to make it better. Now, getting the fan up here is going to be pretty tricky. This is very heavy. I still have the lights on. The light shades are very heavy. Actually, the whole stinking... Okay, never mind. Actually, that wasn't too bad. Okay. Move the ladder out and we can make some electrical connections. And then put the cams back up, and then we have to look at the blades too. I do still hear it. That's the sound right there. It's not fixed then. Gotta figure out where that sound is coming from. That sounds a little bit different than the sound of the thing creaking against the drywall. That sounds like something else now. Is this still? Yeah, it's good enough. So that's no longer the edges of the medallion. That's something different. That appears to be this creak in here. Yep, that's this creaking like this. So now we might need to jam some how the heck are we gonna fix that? Might have to jam something up there to actually undo what we just did. Maybe it didn't help any. I really would like a better solution than just jamming a bunch of washers up there. But I don't know. I don't know how to fix this. I guess I ultimately need to get a better quality medallion, because this one is extremely thin and the other ones I have are not like this. Yep, I can hear that sound. That's definitely coming from right here. Alright, so that's 4 washers. That seems to be an improvement. No, it's still creaking somehow. I don't think this can be fixed. It's going to creak everywhere. If you fix one spot, it's going to creak somewhere else. That's awful. I need a different medallion. That's what it's going to come down to. The fan is not usable on medium because this is all you hear all day. I can't live with that. But if this is not going to be able to be corrected, it's just the material this is made of is too creaky. Yeah, that's a joke. Gotta get a different medallion, that's the bottom line. We're gonna have to ride it out like this until I change the fan again. Because new medallion's expensive. I'm not, I got good ones, a couple $100. Now what I don't quite understand is that the old fan that was here made similar sounds and there was no medallion. So I wonder if it's not the medallion. You know what, I have no idea anymore. All I know is I'm getting sick of it. You know, all it takes is just the slightest of movement to make that creak. I can't correct it. It needs to be a different piece of hardware. And that washer up here somewhere. Well, I guess it's going to stay now because I don't know where it is. Oh, here it is. It's inconsistent. Sometimes it does it, sometimes it doesn't. It seems like right now it seems okay, but I know it's not going to be in a half an hour. Whatever, we're going to go with it. If it continues to creak, then I need to replace the medallion. I'm very disappointed that we can't get this fixed today, but at least we've identified the problem and I can look around for replacement medallions at some point. And this is totally going to creak still. I can hear it creaking as I'm doing the wiring. That's unfortunate. Oh well. This is all dirty up here, and I gotta try to wash that off. I'm not sure how that happened. What on earth would have made that so dirty? It looks awful. At least it comes off. Kind of. I don't know what that's from. I didn't have any rubber handled tools up here. What the heck is it like that for? It's kind of bizarre. Well, time will tell. I think it's still going to be a creaky mess, but who knows? Maybe it'll get better for some reason. Now we need to check the blades, because the blades, to me, sound like they were creaking as well. I don't know, they seem to be okay, but I'll try to tighten these down a little bit. I'll try to tighten these down a little bit more. Oh yeah, actually they were a little bit loose. I don't usually go this tight with the blades, but if that's what this fan requires, then that's what we'll do. This is way tighter than I usually put blades. Alright, let's put them back. I'm going to put it back on the motor a lot tighter too. You know what I'm also going to do, just for the sake of curiosity? I'm going to alter the order in which these blades were put on. Now, I've done that before with this, and I found it made no difference in terms of the balance. So I almost wonder if maybe the weight of the blades is not all the same. But I don't know, we'll see. It's something to try. We know if we put it back exactly the same way, it's going to work the same way, or at least it should. But if we try to reorder it, maybe it'll get better. I also wanted to try weighing the blades, perhaps. Oh, that's interesting. This blade is warped. The trailing edge is sticking up much higher than the leading edge. Okay, that's probably some of the issue then. And this is what we might be experiencing because it's never been used out of the package. You know, the materials are all being exposed to the air and the temperature and the humidity or whatever for the first time. So it might be, the blades might be adjusting to the environment, and we might find that they start to warp. I think it's only that one blade, but that's enough to throw it out of balance for sure. And that's another reason why this mounting apparatus needs to be able to handle an out of balance fan, because as time goes on, the materials on the fans are only going to get worse and worse. So it needs to be able to accept an out of balance fan and not create annoying creaky sounds. Alright, that's all the blades and the second screws, and we'll be done. And however it is, it is. If it creaks, which it probably will, it's going to be creaky until I replace the fan. Which may only be a month or two. I want to really start using a lot of different fans because I have so many of them. Well, this is where things get a little tricky here with these blades and not a lot of space to work with. I actually really don't like the way this is. It's much tighter than it was before. So let's see if that makes it any better. I really don't know. I think the warpage is going to explain the problem, because I thought it kind of seemed like it was getting more out of balance as time went on. And that would absolutely explain why. Because it is. I don't understand what's the big deal about seeing the screws. You know, this concealed hardware stuff, it looks nice, but it's just so much more difficult to work with than it needs to be. I'm not sure what's worse, this design or the other ones where the switch housing actually has to be taken off in order to access the screws. That I think is pretty ridiculous, but at least once the switch housing is off, it's easy to work with. This is just a pain in the neck. And of course it's nicking up the top of the switch housing because the screwdriver has to contact it in order to get in there. Alright, that's it. Everything is tight. Much tighter than it was before. I can still hear the creaking. It's going to do the same thing. But it is what it is. I need a different medallion. A different medallion should fix it. So we'll start it up now just to see if the balance is any different. I don't really expect it to be, but who knows? Sometimes the equipment is unpredictable. Now let's see what it does. I think it's about the same. So I guess either one of the brackets has got to be out of whack or one of the blades is at different heights. See, you can see now, oh, I can see it in person, but you can see the clock on the blades. One of them is off, and that's got to be that warped one. And that you can't fix. There's nothing you can do about that. So it never usually creaks on high, it creaks on medium, which of course is the speed I always use in the winter. Yeah, it's still shaking pretty good. It's shaking about the same as it was before. I don't hear anything yet, but I'm not holding my breath.